Now at 6, a man accuses a police lieutenant of stalking him by circling his neighborhood and parking in front of his home out of his jurisdiction while on duty.
I was threatened. I mean, and even my family, my neighbors, everybody now is like looking out their window just trying to see if they see this cops driving by again.
He believes it's a scare tactic in retaliation for taking that police department to federal court. It's a story you saw first on 4. And that man has filed a motion in court to try to stop all City of Sweetwater police officers from contacting him. He says this is the latest in a series of harassing run-ins that he's had with the department. CBS 4's Natalia Zaya has more.
A dashboard camera recorded an unmarked Sweetwater police SUV cruising through a neighborhood and stopping in front of a home, even motioning the driver behind him to pass him as he sits outside the house. That sounds like a normal day on the job for a Sweetwater officer, but this isn't Sweetwater. It's Miami-Dade County, and this house belongs to George Del Rio, who is suing the city of Sweetwater in federal court. This dashcam video was shot one day before a major court hearing in the case.
I haven't been able to sleep ever since this situation.
Attorney Rick Diaz says the lieutenant was sending a message.
Well, I call it harassment, I call it intimidation, I call it stalking. There's no reason for this officer to be outside of his jurisdiction.
The city confirms Marcos Villanueva, seen here being sworn in as lieutenant, was driving the SUV that Del Rio recorded, and Lieutenant Villanueva was on duty at the time. Del Rio says he called Miami-Dade police to check out the SUV, but that someone canceled the call without explanation.
I thought that after I filed the lawsuit that I was kind of like protected from them doing anything to me.
Del Rio, who works as a private investigator, says he filed the lawsuit against the city and several police employees back in 2012 when he says police arrested him without cause and held him with no charges for hours.
They kept me at the police station for 16 hours, no bathroom, no food, no nothing.
Named in Del Rio's lawsuit are Sweetwater Lieutenant Ignacio Menecal, former Chief Roberto Folguera, suspended officer Octavio Oliu, who's charged with using a fake license plate to avoid paying tolls, former officer Willie Garcia, who was convicted of identity theft and credit card fraud, and former Mayor Manny Maronio, who's in a federal lockup for conspiracy to commit wire fraud.
I think that there's unfortunately, a very systematic problem.
The attorney representing the city would not comment on the allegations, but says Del Rio's motion to forbid officers from contacting him holds no weight.
Mr. Del Rio and his lawyers certainly are not entitled to the relief they seek based upon what they filed. And I think that it was designed for one reason, and that's to get the media's attention.
Del Rio is now waiting on the judge to rule on his motion to ask the City of Sweetwater Police Department to leave him alone. And the attorney for the city says the judge is also considering a motion to dismiss Del Rio's lawsuit altogether. We'll have to wait and see what the judge decides. Natalia Zaya, CBS 4 News.
Okay, so that being said, there's an absolute direct link to human trafficking, crimes against humanity, and Freemasonry. It goes from Masonic Lodge to Masonic Lodge to Masonic Lodge. The little Satanists, wizards, warlocks, witches in their covens. It's from, that's why it's worldwide, and you see it just travels with you. So that's why you can't get away with it. You go to a different place to call head. So like I live down in Rochester, Minnesota, I go to Minneapolis, and then up in Minneapolis they just do the same things. They just call ahead to their buddies in law enforcement. Hey, guess what, They're pathetic pukes. So my good friend Joshua Ottman was paid by the Sheriff's Department as a confidential informant to do the felony stalking and slander himself. He died at age 36. He told me the local Freemason officers had killed many people and they would make them look like suicides. My felony law enforcement stalking and slander started after turning in a dirty rapist police officer who was found guilty by the FBI. The Dodge County Sheriff's Department was forced to pay the rape victim $75,000, and the Rochester, Minnesota Gang Narcotics Task Force was forced to pay the rape victim $75,000. And by paying that rape victim a total of $150,000, the rapist cop was able to not be accountable or even lose his job, or placed on a sex offender list, which he should be. And he kept his job because of the payout agreement, and now I've been the victim of hundreds of felony crimes and Christian persecution for around 9 years roughly for telling the FBI what he was doing as a rapist to people in the community. The individuals at targetedjustice.com have been told specifically by cops and many other sources that the Department of Homeland Security and FBI's fusion centers coordinate these felony crimes against innocent people, causing many to commit suicide or be murdered, which is consistent also to what my friend Joshua Ottman had told me when he tipped me off that they were doing the felony stalking and slander against me, and that the Sheriff's Department was paying him to do it as a Sheriff's Department confidential informant.
Greetings, fellow individual. Now, a while back, I made a video about how I was being harassed at a hospital. I went to the police department, and this is my report. There's no information on it. It just pretty much says the time that I arrived, pretty much times that we talked. I went there, I was sat in the lobby for a couple of minutes, we talked, and that was it. There's no remarks, just as added remarks, nothing. So, wouldn't you find that strange? And I've also had an experience at the local fusion center, which I had no idea they were tied to Citizens Court, which, by the way, I was there visiting them because a police officer told me that they may be able to help me. So I went there to later discover that they are, in fact, a fusion center. The Texas Department of Public Safety has an emergency management group, and they actually do the same exact things which I have experienced in the community. So they work with federal agencies and stakeholders, and they are involved in what we call NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. Now, let me go back to this report. This report was filled. Hold on 1 second. Let me go to my YouTube videos. Hold on 1 second. I have like perhaps over 40 different tabs open, and I have a screen recorder on, so my cell phone's going to be a little bit bogged down. Now, many people remember my other channel called First Amendment to the United States Constitution. This is a smaller channel that I'm just working on every blue moon. I may add a video, but if you want to see my videos that were on my main channel, which are now unlisted, you want to come here to City of Austin video files and click on the City of Austin playlist, the very bottom right hand corner. So there's a video here, let me see if I can find it, concerning that police report that I mentioned. And here's that video. And I actually have the audio. When I was talking to the police, they pretty much didn't investigate, they didn't do anything. Well, guess what happened again? We're in 2019, and I recently made a video called April 2019. Now, you're not going to be able to find it unless you have to go to my playlist, because there's probably a bunch of videos named April 2019. I'm trying to be low key now. So if you go to the City of Austin video files, click on the very bottom right hand playlist, you should be able to find this video. And this channel, I have it where it's just a bunch of long numbers, so you can see other videos that I have. So if you watch that video, this one right here, you will clearly see, you have to watch the whole entire thing from beginning to ending to understand what I go through and how subtle the harassment is. It's nonstop. So there are a lot of correlations between gang stalking and what we see in the political spectrum concerning the utilization of sanctions on countries to economically, destroy a country so the people turn against the rulership. So I'm not a part of no groups. I'm just speaking my mind to the point where we see that sanctions cause people to pretty much eat zoo animals. People are selling their bodies, starving, and financially hurting due to this. And a lot of this intelligence information that we get for a lot of different things is not coming from America. It's coming from Jewish fronts, intelligence agencies, which, or I should say corporations. So there's a lot of economic terrorism going on. And if you're being harassed by Freemasons, you may look at what's called a judicial recusal. I think I'm pronouncing it right. So that way you can actually have that judge removed if you have a lawsuit against any group, because a lot of these people are in fact part of secret societies. And there's a direct link between community mobbing and mass shootings, which BTIs, which care about our nation, speak against. We're exposing this program because we know that when you go out and bully people, like the things that does, and these federal agencies which are training these people, a lot of these tactics cause mass shootings. Not only can it be proven in a court of law, there is video evidence showing people systematically harassing a person and trying to call it community policing. So let me go here. This movement is tied to different groups. I was in New Mexico a while back in 2014. I left there and moved here to Austin, hoping to escape the harassment. I was being followed around by some people. I was like select members of American Legion. So the CIA actually recruits people from the American Legion. So if you ever see people that are very old following people around, harassing them while they're eating food and being dropped out of cars, well, most likely you could be dealing with the FBI or the CIA. They conduct operations in our country, and they do this discreetly by utilizing contractors and people that are working for patriotic groups and veterans organizations. So that way these people feel like they're serving their nation when they're really not. So the CIA is utilized by the secret societies, and the CIA utilizes them too. And there is a direct correlation between gang stalking and our federal agencies. They're tied to it. So hold on one second. I wanted to share something else with you guys. I think this is it right here. So NLP is one of the main tactics that a lot of these gang stalkers will utilize in public. They'll go to stores, they'll follow people around, harass them when they eat food, and they normally operate in pairs. Sometimes they're easily noticeable when you start monitoring these people. You'll start noticing, hey, they're driving black SUVs, they're wearing black suits, white dress shirts, black shades. They make their presence known, and they utilize cops. Yes, police have actually been caught on video doing this crap, supporting gang stalking, organized harassment, community mobbing. It's not top secret, and it's the same activities which are people being bullied and systematically harassed. But we find that there's a double standard and that there's a lot of racial profiling going on. So it's okay for people to defecate on you, get kids and little girls and people from a fusion center or a federal agency to harass you, but it's not okay for you to expose it. And by the way, there are judges that do this stuff. They are in different states. They are mayors who support this, fire chiefs, police chiefs, not in every state or every city, but there's a lot of people in different cities which abuse these programs. So we have to thank our Department of Justice and our judges. We have to thank our intelligence agencies for not stopping this program. I'm just being sarcastic. It's a real sick program, and it's being paid with our own tax.
hunted down like an animal. It's literally oppressive. And I don't blame Harry for wanting to stop the harassment.
For months, Stiles had been desperately fighting the photographers, asking them to stop following him voluntarily, but they did just the opposite, snapping his every move, stopping at nothing.
They wouldn't give him any space, they wouldn't give him any privacy, and I really think going to court was not what he wanted to do, but it's what he had to do.
Right here is GRB 5522. He has an antenna on the back on it. Look, he has like 2 different antennas. He has equipment on the back of his car. And there's a UE where I'm at. I'm not saying that guy's a federal agent, but these people that harass me, they drive vehicles like that. Black SUVs. And I don't believe the guy's a federal agent. I don't believe he's a gang stalker. I don't believe he's gang stalking me. I'm just showing you guys an example of what type of cars these people drive. And they do use women, so be real careful. I've actually caught these people using women, and they'll be like, oh, we're trying to be friendly and stuff, and they talk down to you and treat you like shit afterwards. And then when you look on at their vehicle, you notice military decals, Department of Public Safety, you run their information, and you don't find their current employer, but you find out that they have worked in the past with government contractors. So it makes you think. If all you've worked for is government contractors, then how is it that you come my way? Greetings, fellow targeted individual. So today I received a letter from a man that's helped me in the past, provided me a letter with expert opinion. He's a subject matter expert in psychiatry. And, hold on one second, I'm going under some trees here, and I don't want to hurt my head. So he provided some statements concerning my harassment. He reviewed my photos and a lot of videos that I had to share with him, so that way he could provide me a good opinion and clearly see what I'm going through. So I'm not going to mention his name. So hold on one second. Okay, it says here, Dear Robert, I'm not going to say my last name. Most of you guys already know it. They've been watching me for a while. It says, my name is Professor, I'm not going to say his name, from the University of, I'm not going to say that part either, the psychiatry department. And he states here, a year ago, I provided an expert opinion for you regarding the mobbing and stalking activity you undergo. A survey was conducted based on the video documentation you shared with me. The survey consisted of 102 students free of mental illness and criminal records. So what he did was he showed video footage of what I was going through. And you can see a lot of this video footage that I have unlisted online. Bear with me one moment. If you do a YouTube search, just type up City of Austin video files, click on that user's profile, go to the very bottom of that YouTube site and click on the City of Austin playlist, and it shows you my unlisted videos, a very small portion of them. So these are some of the questions that were asked to the students. Like, so he would show video clips and he would ask people questions concerning what could, pretty much, could this activity cause this or that. So hold on one second, because I'm passing by someone and I don't want to hear what I want to share my business out there. So the first question was, is this activity community policing? So he went through and he was sharing videos concerning my harassment in the community, and he paused the video and said, and 100% said no, it's not community policing. The second question is, does this footage display cooperation with law enforcement and other agencies? 96% of the students circled yes. If you were, the next question is, if you were persistently stalked and harassed, would you buy a gun? 90% said yes. If law enforcement refused to help you, he showed a clip of how, numerous clips actually, and how I was being harassed and asking police for help and being denied help. And he stated that they refused to help you and you experienced the same exact thing, would you resort to violence to end the harassment? 94% said yes. That if they were to be persistently stalked and harassed and police would not intervene and there was nothing they could do pretty much, that 94% could resort to violence. This is right here. It says, could you resort to violence? So it doesn't say like, would they? It's could you? So these are all university students, and the survey was conducted by 102 students, free of mental illness, free of criminal records. Let's keep going here. Is it possible for a human being to live a healthy life under such conditions? 98% put no. The next question is, could this activity cause a mass shooting? 100% said yes. Okay, the next question is, could this treatment mentally impair you? 100% said yes. And I was showing a bunch of clips, and it shows the dates and throughout the years from Florida to New Mexico and to Texas, and how I've been persistently asking for help and not getting it, and how I'm being harassed in supermarkets and while I'm eating. So 100% put yes, that it could impair them if they were to undergo that. It says, the next question is this proof of harassment? 100% put yes, and he put a footnote here. Hold on 1 second, I'm crossing a street. Let me run real quick. So, the video footage is concerning harassment while eating food and buying groceries. He says out of the 329 clips he shared, I only shared 10. And 100% stated that what I was sharing was proof of harassment. So, this guy is a subject matter expert. He's someone that TI should actually, get a subject matter expert. I don't want to put his name out there because he's helping me out. He didn't ask me to, but I think it's the right thing to do, considering that I've been dealing with some very sick people. Bear me 1 moment. I want to make sure my phone is not about, okay, it's only 5% left, so my phone could shut down. I apologize if it does. I can't end this video. So what I do is this. When I'm being harassed in the community, at parks, everywhere I walk, I like to walk against the freeway. That way it's like, hey, I got my MP3 player in my pocket. Sometimes I'll carry a little thing of water and I'll walk a mile and walk back. I have to walk because I suffer from anxiety. And the only way to relieve myself of this anxiety is by walking. If I don't walk, then I'm keeping all that energy inside of me. And persistent harassment can make a person angry. Some people turn psychotic. Some people commit mass shootings over this. Could you imagine being followed and harassed by the same person numerous times? And where they order food, they sit there, and the exact moment you finish, you walk out, they get behind you, walk out with a full bag of groceries, with food, it's getting cold, and they follow you around the community, harass you again and again and again, show up at social events. That is psychotic behavior. That is behavior that it's unusual. It's frightening. And the only reason why I haven't lashed out at these people doing this is due to my religious beliefs. I don't own weapons. I don't harm people. I believe in nonviolence. Now, perhaps if I was a Christian, I probably would have went after these people. In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, got them off our streets. Because when I started typing up what they were doing, it came up: domestic terrorism, active shooters, mental illness, Stasi, Freemasons, FEMA, DHS, it came up with all these different things based on information sharing and the NSA. So I have nothing to hide. I don't hide my face because I'm not a threat to no one. I don't do anything wrong. So when you're dealing with criminals, people engaged in organized harassment or which hide it, conceal it, or support it, understand that you're dealing with criminals. It's one thing if you're surveilling someone, but if you're making your presence known, then you're harassing someone, you're stalking someone. And that's how you cause serious events in our nation. This is what the fusion centers are doing, and this is what members of the city, state, federal government, which are members of the InfraGard, are doing. You're invading people's space and privacy, your ass is going to get hurt. You know, and God forbid that one of these TIs lash out and harm a lot of people because of these people's activities. So you want to look for groups which support inclusion, which support your right to have your constitutional rights respected. Because if people don't respect your constitutional rights, then guess what? They don't respect other people's constitutional rights. And they'll trample on other people's rights and do this to other Americans in our schools and in our communities. So it's important that we promote counterterrorism awareness and learn how we can protect ourselves from extreme public health and safety threats and people that are potentially dangerous. Because any group of people that would do this to an American or any woman or child or anyone is an extreme threat to our country. And they need to be not only exposed, but singled out, reprimanded, and preferably placed in a prison. Because domestic terrorism has no place in a civilized society. Anyway, say no to violence and peace.
Greetings, fellow TI. Now, according to this article, it says the U.S. Defense Department, also known as DoD, is developing domestic espionage and covert operations targeting the general public in coordination with the intelligence establishment and police agencies, according to New York Times. So I'm not a part of no groups. I'm just a researcher, and I'm just someone that cares about their country, and I'm just going through websites trying to understand the possibilities of where these problems can be coming from. And we know that Department of Defense is also involved in contracts with small businesses. Matter of fact, let me see if I can find it on here. I don't have my contacts or my glasses on. So anyways, you have to go scrolling through Department of Defense websites and just do searching for DoD, small business contracts. And they also have regional councils. We have different areas, Mid-Atlantic. They have councils just like Citizens Corps. We call the organization which runs Citizens Corps here the Texas Association of Regional Councils, which is running Citizens Corps, but it's also ran by FEMA, and it's under FEMA and DHS, and is in actuality a component of DHS. So we have representatives, sheriffs, constables, city mayor, town manager, hordes of different groups which are tied to this program in many cities, but you don't find the information online because it's restricted. So DoD utilizes contractors. They have, for every area in America, there is regional councils. They have small businesses. This could be gas stations. This can be someone that owns a furniture store, etc. And they can be utilized for gangstalking. The FBI does the thing too. The NSA, many different departments utilize contractors. So contractors are a front for the clandestine agencies in our country. And a lot of the different things that are going on in our country are tied to small businesses. And when we look at a lot of these sites, we see American flag shirts, and then we see what? Our Statue of Liberty. We may see a bunch of cameras or warships. So harassment, war, stalking, hacking. All this is tied to the military-industrial complex at times when you're a target. And it talks about what people need to do to become a contractor. It normally takes about 18 months of planning before a government contractor wins their first contract. It's planned to invest significant time and resources becoming a procurement ready, identifying potential. Anyways, I'm not going to keep reading all this. Anyways, there's different things you have to do. So this can be anyone. Anyone can pretty much, that has no criminal record, can apply for a secret clearance and be a contractor for DOD. And the FBI also utilizes, it can be the local landscaper, the local security guard at your local university, and in many cases, security at many colleges is operating in conjunction with the local fusion center. So there are people that do this for a living. There are some people that abuse these programs. And when you do a lot of research concerning like the NSA, they're tied to the fusion centers, we hear many people online stating that they have a history of lying. And let's look at what happened to NSA whistleblower Karen Stewart. Let's look at what she went through, being gangstalked and being harassed in the community. And then let's look at the Gulf of Tonkin. That's what caused the Vietnam War. Supposedly Vietnam harmed one of our ships, and then we went to war. Well, guess what? It was all a lie, people. All those Americans that died in Vietnam, all our fathers and grandfathers, they died for nothing. And when we look at Venezuela, we can clearly see that targeting is not only real, but domestic terrorism is a serious problem in our nation. Now, this guy here, he's not even the president of Venezuela, but he's a self-declared president. And he says that he's open to relocating Venezuela's embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. So people are starving. There's mass murder going on that we don't even hear about. That locals, which have declared political asylum in Venezuela, which working as waiters, have told me that they're diabetics. They can't even get medications due to U.S. But we're blaming hyperinflation on the Venezuelan government. But we're not looking at the sanctions which have been imposed by our government. And we have this guy here, this terrorist. He's not even elected by the people. He's a self-declared president. And we have 50 nations, which we have, they're all strong partners financially when it comes as far as trade. And we have placed Venezuela. So all these countries have gone against Venezuela. We know Venezuela has been a critic of Israel due to the Gaza war, all the domestic terrorism, all the murder, all the violence. And they have a different political system. And I'm not going to say if I agree with it or not, because I'm not a socialist, I'm not a communist. I'm just an American, which stands for patriotism, human rights in the U.S. Constitution, and respecting all U.S. laws. I'm not a part of no groups. But we see that this guy's a self-declared president, and he's trying to take over the government, trying to start a coup. He's responsible for mass murder, genocide, and this guy's being supported by the government. Actually, I shouldn't say the government. Yeah, it's not the people supporting him. It's people that are anti-American. Because if Americans seen the starvation, women and children selling their bodies to eat food, they would not support this. This is not America's doing. This is politicians doing. And we know that Department of Justice at one time, I don't know if it was billions or hundreds of millions, but I believe it was billions. And they had this slush fund, which was about funding all these radical groups that Obama wanted to support. And a lot of them are involved in community policing, community engagement. And when you don't agree with their agendas, guess what? You can find yourself a target. Now, there are a lot of targets which are liberals. A lot of them are conservatives. I'm pretty much middle in the road. But lean more towards conservative values, family values, decency, patriotism, willing to support your country, make sacrifices, go to war for your country, respect your country, and police and authority. So I'm just scrolling through this document here. I don't know which area might be on the wrong page. So a lot of the stuff going on in our communities has been supported by the left. All this neighborhood watch and people being gangstalked by local groups. And a lot of these groups, people have no idea. They're here in Austin. I've caught them harassing one of these groups, and it was full of people that were African-American, cops, white people. I mean, all types of races. I'm not racist, I love everyone. And they are being paid. Their organizations are being paid to do this. So people would be surprised to know that many of these groups are radical feminists, communists, have radical beliefs. So you're not going to find the FBI willing to help you. And
we have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order. When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order.
It used to be more secretive. The New World Order was talked about 30 or 40 years ago, and nobody would say it out and open. Now they talk about the New World Order, or they just think the world would be better off if we had one world government. Right. I don't. I mean, I don't even like the size of our federal government, let alone one world government.
In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society. And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings.
There is the necessity for a new world order. A, because of what's taken place in the Middle East, the rise of different kinds of groups, and B, what's happened in Asia, meaning that there has been a shift from the West to the East.
There's a need for a new world order.
After 1989, President Bush said, and it's a phrase that I often use myself, that we needed a new world order.
The Norman Cousins Global Governance Award, Walter Cronkite. World government is the structure necessary for global justice.
Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Good evening and congratulations, Walter, on receiving the World Federalist Association's Global Governance Award.
There is a chance for the President of the United States to use this disaster to carry out what his father, a phrase his father used, I think, only once, and hasn't been used since, and that is a new world order.
And jobs cost American sovereignty, but it would fulfill the President's father's vision. Bill Tucker reports.
It's not a new idea. President Bush talked about it back in 1991.
It is a big idea. A new world order.